For the next couple of days, we are going to be taking some time to take a look at the 5 triangle congruency theorems. They're listed at the top of my paper here. So we'll do a little bit today, and then we'll do a little bit tomorrow. So here we go, section 2.3, triangle congruency. So this is side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and hypotenuse, leg. And later on up here, I will rewrite that and say it out loud for you again. So let's start up here at the top. I got 2 triangles. We have triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. So this little mark here, if you didn't know, stands for congruency. So it's an equal sign with a little squiggly at the top. That means congruent. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle DEF. So since I know that, we can come over here and we can label the parts that are congruent. So congruent triangles have 6 congruent parts. So we're going to go through based off of these 2 triangles and label the congruent parts. So AB is congruent to DE. So I'm going to start with the leg lengths first. So AB is congruent to DE. So AB congruent to DE. So we can put a little tip mark there. So these 2 tip marks mean that those 2 sides are congruent to each other. BC is congruent to EF. So in my triangle, I can go and put some congruency marks there. BC is congruent to EF. Then I have AC is congruent to DF. So I can put 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3. So we can see that AB is congruent to DE, BC is congruent to EF, and AC is congruent to DF. So I put different tick marks so we can know what corresponds to each other. That matches that one, this matches this one, that matches that one. Now I can go through and I can do the same thing with the angles. Angle A is congruent to angle D. Angle B is congruent to angle E. And angle C is congruent to angle F. And I'm going to label the tick marks over here for my angles. So A and D are congruent to each other. We'll put the little curvy marks in there for angles. B and E are congruent to each other. And C and F are congruent to each other. So I label our tick marks so we can see what is congruent to each other. So I have one little curvy mark here, they're congruent. There's 2 of them up there to show congruency, and then there's 3 of them down here to show congruency. So this is just us matching up the corresponding parts and corresponding angles that are congruent to each other. Now we're going to write a congruent statement for each set of triangles. So that means we're going to match up the corresponding sides and corresponding angles. So looking here, I can see the tick marks are already provided for us. I can see that BC corresponds to QT. I see that AB corresponds to RQ. And I see that AC corresponds to TR because of the tick marks here. I could do the same thing with the angles. This angle has 1 mark that corresponds to Q that has 1 mark. C has 2 marks here in the angle, and so does T. And then this is a right angle, and this is a right angle. So my 2 triangles that are congruent to each other, triangle ABC is congruent to triangle RQT. So I matched up angle A with angle R because they're both right angles. B matches with Q because they both have the same tick mark. And C matches with T because they have the same tick marks. So A corresponds to R, B matches up with Q, and C matches up with T. I could do the same thing over here looking. I see that O must match up with R because they're both right angles. So I see that matches up. I see that N has to be the same because these are vertical angles. They're the same. And I can also match up my tick marks. RN corresponds to ON. So triangle MRN is congruent to triangle PON. Again, oh, sorry, you can't see, my bad. So triangle ABC is congruent to triangle RQT. My apologies for that. And then triangle MRN is congruent to triangle PON. And for the last triangle, I'm going to apply the same concept. I see that angle B is shared with both triangles and they're both the same. This is angle A, angle C. They correspond to each other. And AD corresponds to CD. So this is triangle ABD, and that corresponds to triangle CBD. So this is us writing a congruent statement for each set of triangles. So I matched up the corresponding parts and corresponding angles. Now, the important part for today, we're going to take a look at the 5 congruency theorems for triangles. So there are 5 of them. The first one is side, 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 side. The next one is side, angle, side, side, angle, side. The third one is angle, side, angle, angle, side, angle. The third is angle, angle, side, angle, angle, side. And the fifth one is hypotenuse, leg. So there are 5 triangle congruency theorems. We got side, 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 angle, side, angle, angle, side, and hypotenuse leg. And in each space provided down here, I'm going to go through and draw a triangle, draw a picture, and so that you'll better understand what that means. So there's 5 of them: side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, angle, side, and hypotenuse leg. So let me zoom in a little bit and we'll take a look at a few at a time. So first, let's take a look at side, side, side. So I'm going to go ahead and draw some triangles in here and label those H. So you are more than welcome to pause these videos as I'm going over them, as always, so that you can draw your triangles and things like that. P, Q, R. Okay. And I'm going to go ahead and label some things that we know here. So I'm going to say that HG is congruent to QP. HF is congruent to QR. And GF is congruent to PR. 1, 2, 3. 1, 2, 3. So since these are 2 congruent triangles, triangle GHF is congruent to triangle PQR. And they have all the same leg lengths. Each side of the triangle is the same, so they are congruent by side, side, side. So if all 3 sides of the triangle are the same, they are congruent by side, side, side. And I know that because of the tick marks, they show us that all 3 sides are congruent to each other. All right, side, angle, side. So we'll start each picture here by drawing in our triangles and vertices and labeling some things. So this is F, E, and D. And we'll go through and label. So 1, 2, 2. All right, so BC is congruent to FD. CA is congruent to DE. And angle C is congruent to angle D. So in each triangle, I have 1 tick mark for that side, 2 tick marks for this side, and they share an angle, angle C and angle D. So triangle BCA is congruent to triangle FDE. So these 2 triangles are congruent by side, angle, side. And I know it's side, angle, side because they share this one side here. They share an included angle, so the angle has to be between the 2 sides. This angle is between side BC and CA, and this angle is in between side FD and ED. So the angle has to be between the 2 sides. So these 2 angles are congruent by side, angle, these 2 triangles are congruent by side, angle, side. Next, we got angle, side, angle. So this is going to be G, B, H. And this one is going to be K, P, N. And we'll go ahead and draw in our things here. All right. So I drew the triangles and the corresponding things that are congruent, and then we'll go through and label, and I'll explain to you why this is angle, side, angle. So let the name kind of lead you towards what it is. So this is called angle, side, and an angle. So I must have two angles and one side. So these two triangles, so triangle GHB is congruent to triangle KNP. So GHB is congruent to KNP. And these are congruent by angle, side, angle. And I know that because they share an angle. G and K correspond to each other. GH and KN correspond to each other. And H and N correspond to each other. Just like with side, the angle had to be in the middle. For angle, side, angle, the side has to be in the middle. So notice this side is in between two angles. Notice this side is between two angles. So these are congruent by angle, side, angle. All right, so those are the first three. I'm going to slide on over so we can get to our last two, angle, angle, side, and hypotenuse, leg. So we'll draw our triangles. So we're going to do D, C, M, and G, X, T. So those are going to be the vertices for this triangle. And I will put in our congruency tick marks. All right. So these two triangles, we have triangle CDM is congruent to triangle XGT. So looking here, we have triangle CDM is congruent to triangle XGT. So C corresponds to X. They're both corresponding and congruent angles. D and G are congruent, and DM and GT are congruent. So these two angles are congruent by angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. Angle, angle, side. So these two triangles are congruent by angle, angle, side. And the last one, hypotenuse, leg. Make sure you draw two right triangles in this rectangle here. Make sure you draw two right triangles. And we'll put in our right triangle tip mark there. So this is A, C, B. And then this one will be Z, Y, X. So these two correspond. These two correspond. And then this. So these are congruent by hypotenuse, leg. So triangle A, B, C is congruent to triangle Z, X, Y. So hypotenuse is opposite the right angle. So we think back to the Pythagorean theorem. I got a right angle here. Across from the right angle is your hypotenuse, that tip mark there. This is my right angle. Across from that right angle is my tip mark there. So that is your hypotenuse. AB is the hypotenuse and XZ is the hypotenuse. So that takes care of the hypotenuse part of the name. Leg can be either leg. So for this particular example, ZY corresponds to AC. So these two triangles are congruent to each other by hypotenuse, leg. So if they share an hypotenuse that's congruent to a leg, then they are congruent by hypotenuse, leg. So we're going to take these five, side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and hypotenuse, leg, and we're going to determine if triangles are congruent. And then if they are, we're going to state what the congruency theorem is, and then we're going to match up the corresponding parts. So that is at the bottom here. All right, 2A. So I have this triangle here. I see that I have one tip mark there, so that means they share a leg. I see there's another one here, so they share two sides of the triangle. So this is one side, and then this is another side. And they share this last side here because they both have that in common. So I have 3 legs that are all congruent to each other. So these are congruent by side, side, side. And my correspondence is A, B, C corresponds to C, D, A. So I know that because BC corresponds to AC, and I know that these 2 sides correspond to each other, and they share this last side here. So triangle ABC corresponds to CDA. Example 2B, angle E is congruent to angle H. And EF is the same as HF. So it looks like I got an angle. So they share this angle up here. And they have a side right here that they share. And they also share this angle right here because those are vertical angles. Boom, 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 boom. So these are congruent by angle, side, angle. And again, angle, side, angle. And you want to make sure this side is in between the angle, which they are. This side is in between angles E and F, and this side is between angles H and F. So these are congruent by angle, side, angle. So triangle EFI is congruent to triangle HFG. Right? 2C. I got JKL and I have M. So I see that I have some congruencies here. So that's good. And then I have 2 tick marks here. So I have 1 angle and 1 leg length. So I either need to find another angle or I need to find another side. Looking here, I see that they share a side here. However, I still don't have enough information to know that there's another angle that they share. So these 2 are actually not congruent to each other. I don't have enough information to conclude that these 2 angles are congruent to one another because I got an angle and a side, but that's not one of my congruency theorems. So angle, side, side is not a congruency theorem. So this one is not congruent. 2D, I got RST and UVT. So looking here, I see that we share an angle. So I see these are vertical angles, so I can label those. So those are vertical angles that I can label. I see that they also have a right angle. And I also see that they have a side. So if I'm looking at my congruency theorems, there's an angle, and there's a side. So right up here, what we just wrote down, this one is angle, angle, side. So these are congruent by angle, angle, side. So this is triangle TSR. It's congruent to triangle TVU. All right, we'll take a look at a few more on the bottom row here just to make sure we had enough examples in practice. So remember, there are 5 options that you have: side, 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 angle, side, angle, side, angle, angle, side, or hypotenuse leg. Those are the only 5 options that you have. We can't make up anything else. We have to use one of those 5 options. So let's take a look at E. So for E, I see that I have 2 sides already. I see that this is a side, and I see that this is a side. And these are vertical angles. So think of the X from the last unit. These are vertical angles. So I have 2 sides and an angle. So this one's going to be side, angle, side. So it's going to be side, angle, side. Side, angle, side. So these are congruent by side, angle, side. And this is triangle TVU. And this is triangle XVW. All right, 2F. So let's see what kind of information we're given. I see 2 right triangles, which is good. So I know that those are congruent. I see that YA is congruent to CA. So I need to look in this picture and see if there's anything else that I know is congruent. Again, vertical angles are going to come up a lot. These are vertical angles in here. So that's a vertical angle, and then that's a vertical angle. So I have an angle, a side that's in between it, and then another angle. I have an angle, a side that's in between it, and then another angle. So these are congruent by angle, side, angle. So this is triangle AYZ, and this is triangle ACB. Two more. To G, RUS, and TUS. So I need to look and see what I have here. I see a right angle here. So I'm thinking maybe like a right triangle, but I got to make sure I have enough information. Across from the right angle is my hypotenuse. Across from the right angle is my hypotenuse. So I'm going to label the hypotenuse. And I see that they share this leg. This leg is included on both triangles. So this is congruent by HL. So triangle RUS is congruent to triangle TUS. And last but not least, to H. Let's look and see what I'm given already in my picture. I see an angle that's congruent to each other, so that's good. I also know that this means parallel lines, so I know that I have alternate interior angles, so this is congruent and this one. So this right here, this little curve part that I just put in, and this little curve part based off of parallel lines and a transversal from last unit. So it looks like I have two angles and a side. So I see this angle, and they share this line. Again, this angle, and they share this line. So these are congruent by angle, angle, side. This is triangle HGE, and this is triangle HEG. So we're going to do this today and tomorrow. There's 5 theorems that you need to know. We have side, 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 angle, angle, side, angle, 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 side, and hypotenuse leg. So these are the 5 triangle congruency theorems that you will need to know.